Hi everyone, welcome to Farsight Weekly for November 7th, 2024. I am Courtney Brown, Director of Farsight, where we study the subject of remote viewing widely applied, where all data are collected under totally blind and scientifically defensible conditions. So let's dive in. Friends, the last time we published a Farsight Weekly was on September 30th, a month ago. Now it is the beginning of November. So what happened? Well, the election madness in the U.S. was adding too much intensity to a news update, so we decided to wait until things settled down after the election before offering the weekly update again. So now we are back with a full head of steam. We now know that Donald Trump won the presidential election. Amazingly, it was a solid enough win to shed doubts about whether the election could be contested. The polling data was all over the board during the last week, with wild swings being reported, so much so that it made me wonder if each side was manipulating the polling results in order to set the stage for contesting the election no matter which side won. That may indeed have been going on, but the results were sufficiently one-sided that this was not a possibility. One of the big challenges that we have faced at Farsight is that we have so many projects dealing with so many topics, including the election, that we have had trouble getting the time to edit all the videos so we can publish all of them. All of our results pointed towards a Trump victory, but with trouble occurring after each election. So now we wait to see what will happen over the next 6 months. One keen focus at Farsight has been disclosure of the UAP or UFO phenomenon. Now, as we see it, it is now or never. The control over social media will continue to grow over the next few years, no matter who is in the White House. Eventually, the control over what you are allowed to see will be complete. So disclosure cannot wait much longer. Remember, Earth is a psychological prison, not a prison with physical bars. So the big issue is ending secrecy so that humanity can make a free will choice regarding the future. Now, the ETs who we work with at Farsight simply want the end of secrecy. They do not want to tell anyone how to govern yourselves or how to live your lives. They simply want you to know the truth, all of the truth. As we have mentioned multiple times in the past, disclosure will involve the release of information for various topics. Our guess is that the disclosure of what really happened with the assassination of John F. Kennedy will happen first. Donald Trump has promised Bobby Kennedy that he will release the official record, so let's see how that rolls out. Other major topics include what really happened with the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., and finally, the big gorilla on the block is 9/11. After that, the UFO or UAP disclosure topic will be relatively easy, but we do expect that pressure to release information on all of those topics will happen simultaneously in a continuous basis, not one after the other with a clear separation between the topics. There will probably be partial releases of information along the way for all of the topics. And of course, there will be fierce resistance to all parts of disclosure. It is an information war. And the group of ETs who we call the bad ETs are extremely experienced at controlling populations through psychological means. They have the New Age community all caught up in knots, worshiping various channels who are telling them that the galaxy is full of loving brothers and sisters waiting to embrace humanity when humanity finally takes its head out of the sand to look up at the stars. And the scientific community is absolutely ridiculous in how they continue to ignore all evidence to the contrary as they insist that the UFOs do not exist. And they continue to spend huge sums of money in search of evidence of life in distant parts of the galaxy when the real action is right here on Earth. And the news media is still focused on the question of whether we are alone in the universe. All of this is ET PSYOPs manipulation, and it extends to every corner of society. So you can see there are a lot of walls that need to come down, and it won't be easy. Now, the good ETs, the ones who we work with at Farsight, and who have been helping develop Farsight for many years, have a plan to break through all of that. But to be honest, there is no guarantee. It is a war, a real war. They seem very positive and hopeful, but breaking an entire civilization out of a prison like you have on Earth has never been done before, not just like this. So we really do not know how this will turn out exactly. But the recent U.S. presidential election may be useful in this regard. There is a technical term to describe a person who moves into a new field and fundamentally changes the way things are done in that field. Now, the term is called a disruptor. From Google AI, a disruptor is a person, company, or technology that challenges the status quo and causes significant change in an industry or market. Now, disruptors can be good or bad. The term does not carry the meaning of whether the change is beneficial or harmful. For example, Steve Jobs of Apple was a disruptor. Bill Gates at Microsoft was a disruptor. Jeff Bezos at Amazon was a disruptor. And of course, Martin Luther King Jr. was a very powerful disruptor who was fundamental in ending segregation in the United States. Obviously, we consider ourselves at Farsight to be disruptors. Also, Elon Musk is clearly a disruptor. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a disruptor. And of course, Donald Trump is a disruptor. So if Donald Trump does what he said he will do, and he brings Elon Musk and Bobby Kennedy into the government as major players, then there will be 3 very strong disruptors making changes. In the situation that we find ourselves in right now, the last thing we need are people who are fighting for the continuation of the status quo. So, having disruptors in charge offers the possibility of significant change. But it is important to remember that no one really knows how things will turn out when a disruptor is changing things. Things can go either way, good or bad. At Farsight, disclosure is the only thing we are concerned about, the end of secrecy. So, we will have to wait and see what happens. But I can say that there will likely be very serious resistance to the changes that we are facing. Leadership will need to be especially careful with respect to things such as assassination attempts, civil unrest, terrorist events, and indeed war. In particular, terrorist events will put pressure on leadership to tighten down on social media, and you can be certain that the efforts to lighten up on censorship in this society will not find it easygoing. Confusion within humanity during this time is certain, but the ultimate test of whether disclosure is making real headway will be seen within the next 12 months, with much happening within the next 6 months. Once it gets to 2 or more years without serious disclosure, well, the freedom within social media will likely be seriously degraded. So, if it is going to happen, disclosure needs to happen sooner rather than later. And I am certain you all will be eager to see our next Omega Mysteries project that will be released in a few days. It is the true story of Bob Lazar. Yeah, that's right, you heard me right. It will be released on FARSIGHT'S.com. Now, Bob Lazar started the disclosure process regarding things he said about Area 51 and its adjacent area, S4, but he is tremendously controversial as a figure. His distractors attack his claims about his educational background and subsequently his employment background. The goal of his distractors is to dismiss his entire story entirely. But so much of what Bob Lazar said about Area 51 and S4 turned out to be true. So how could he have known this stuff at such an early time if he was lying? Truthfully, friends, the real story of Bob Lazar is way more complicated than most people can imagine, and you will find out what the real story is in just a few days. So hang on tight real soon at FARSIGHT'S.com. And our next major Alpha Mysteries project will be released near the middle of November, and that will be What Happened to American Airlines 77. It will come out on FARSIGHT'S.com. Now, American Airlines 77 was said to have crashed into the Pentagon during the 9/11 events, and if you have not yet seen it, you really should watch our full project on 9/11. There are tremendous problems with the official story. A jumbo jet cannot fly the way they claim it flew on that day, and the hole in the Pentagon was too small for a jumbo jet. There were no wings in the wreckage, and jumbo jets, to my understanding, all have wings. And the list goes on. A great many people have questioned the official narrative of the 9/11 events, including people such as Ed Asner, an American actor who starred on the Mary Tyler Moore Show and who was also president of the Screen Actors Guild, a job once held by Ronald Reagan. Of course, there is tremendous pressure not to question the official narrative, and most people are afraid to speak out. But one question remains totally unanswered. If American Airlines 77 did not crash into the Pentagon during 9/11, what actually happened to it? It's a very serious question, and we at Farsight decided to take a look to see what happened to it, thereby completing our investigations into the 9/11 events. Around the middle of November 2024, you will find out. And remember that a remote viewing project such as this is just the beginning. After the remote viewing is done, the true detective work needs to begin by others. Remote viewing helps tell people where to look, but it is not proof by itself. It is just the beginning of a more complete investigation, not the end of an investigation. Hopefully, enough years have passed such that questioning the official narrative is possible. We will see. And please remember that if you like what we are doing at Farsight, please consider subscribing to FarsightPrime.com. We don't have any advertisements there, and our subscribers are the only way we can continue to offer such content. We have a very positive audience, and we truly appreciate the help you give us to continue our efforts. We also continue to publish our deep news projects, with multiple results being published each month on both YouTube and FarsightPrime.com. Remember that Farsight is data-driven, and we never report he said, she said stuff. That is what you get in the mainstream news, and it is all manipulated, with each mainstream news outlet trying to herd its followers into believing a certain narrative. That is the path to slavery. The only path to freedom is to see the original data, all collected under totally blind and scientifically defensible conditions. That's what we offer you at Farsight. And if you have not already done so, you need to watch our latest Farsight ET board meeting that we published both on YouTube and FarsightPrime.com in late October 2024. Those board meetings are when two extraterrestrials meet with everyone here at Farsight. Those are real meetings. They allow us to ask questions, and they tell us stuff. They are adamant that they want these meetings to be recorded live and to be broadcast for all to see. In the last meeting, they explained that the various crises that humanity is facing over the next few months are about to begin. We are facing what we call catastrophic disclosure. It is a really big deal. Don't be caught off guard. Watch the meetings with an open mind. You also really need to see the latest conversations with Harvey recorded in a secret location at the beach. You can find it on FarsightPrime.com. Now, Harvey went over the crises that are coming, and he explained what our side of the extraterrestrials are doing. Our side is not causing the crises. The group of extraterrestrials who we call the bad ETs have caused or set up the crises, but they want to spread them out over years and years in order to keep humanity in a constant state of turmoil. Now, our side, the good ETs, have acted to compress the crises so that they happen at the same time, like over the next few months, thereby overloading the control system of the bad ETs. The goal is to cause the control system to collapse, leading to catastrophic disclosure, which is the only path to free everyone on this planet. It is important that everyone realizes Farsight's role in all of this. Farsight does not condone violence. We firmly believe that no humans should be fighting other humans. War is not good. Human suffering is terrible. But when war is triggered secretly by the bad ETs to keep humanity enslaved, then we believe that the path to freedom is to remove all secrets. Governance by secrecy only leads to slavery. Moving on. Each week, we try to have a message from one of our remote viewers. Here is Aziz Brown.
Hey everyone, I wanted to share my personal experience with the photobiomodulation or PBM device and why it didn't quite work out with me the way I had hoped. To give you a little background, I was particularly interested in PBM as a way of improving focus during my meditation sessions. My goal was to enhance my mind and reach deeper meditative states more quickly using infrared light. Now you see, I've read a lot about PBM, and there's substantial research suggesting it can help with mental clarity, focus, and even emotional well-being. So I went into this with the intention of deepening my meditation practice, thinking that PBM might actually help accelerate that process. But honestly, the experience wasn't what I expected, and it wasn't all that pleasant. When I first tried PBM, the effects on my brain were immediate and intense. The infrared light had a strong impact, and I could literally feel my brainwaves shifting almost right away. What was strange was that this wasn't just a quick reaction, it lingered for days afterwards. So that's when I started thinking, okay, if I were dealing with something like depression or anxiety, this would actually be kind of beneficial, like the academic journals I mentioned before reported, but in a weird and roundabout way. The drastic change in brain activity might help break old patterns of negative thinking simply by washing the brain over with frequencies that drag it someplace else. It's almost like, imagine if you had a splinter in your hand and that splinter was bothering you constantly, but then somebody comes up and sneaks up behind you and dunks you into some freezing cold water. In that moment, you'd forget all about the splinter because the shock of an intense new sensation would have just washed all over you. Pun intended, I guess. PBM, or photobiomodulation, as I saw it, is sort of similar in this instance. It seems to work in that similar way of bringing in such new stimulation that it forces the mind out of its older patterns. But my intention was really just to enhance my focus for meditation, and that's where things kind of went south. I've always been sensitive to sound technologies that alter brainwaves like binaural beats, and those have actually made me feel pretty sick in the past. So I was hoping that using light might bypass that sensitivity, but unfortunately PBM was not the workaround I was looking for. The moment I started using the PBM device, or photobiomodulation device, I felt this overwhelming shift in my mind. It was almost like my brain was warping with this rhythmic wave pattern, and within just about 5 minutes I felt this intense depth forming to the blackness of my closed eyes. Now, that was actually a good thing, because this is something I normally achieve after a much longer meditation session, not just 5 minutes. So it was strange because it all happened so quickly, so much faster than what I was used to, which technically is exactly what I wanted. So that was actually a plus. I used the PBM device for about 15 minutes in total, but it didn't feel right. The intensity of the session left me feeling a bit uncomfortable afterwards, and instead of helping me focus, it created that lasting warping sensation for a long time. I mean, I really couldn't shake the feeling for a couple of days. After that experience, I really realized that this tool wasn't for me. I didn't really like the fact that I couldn't turn off that warping feeling, because that feeling was so intense. It made me think, oh, do I really want to drive right now? I didn't really feel like I could go about and just do my other activities. So I really wasn't into that. Now, that being said, I do believe photobiomodulation works. The science behind it is strong, and it's obvious to me that this technology has real significant effects on brain activity. In fact, I think that a lot of those sci-fi technologies that you see in video games and TV shows like Sword Art Online with that headset that those people wear, I mean, for those of you who have watched it, or for in Cyberpunk 2077, they have the brain dance machines which flash a bunch of lights into your eyes and suddenly you're off on this, you're sort of jacked into a whole nother cybernetic reality because it's modulating your brainwave states with light. I think that's a real science, and that is probably going to be pursued way off into the future for reality-bending activities like those described in these science fiction books, video games, and TV shows. So that's one thing that I was thinking was pretty interesting from this whole experience. So going back to my own device, I'm sure that with different settings and maybe less intensity or potentially shorter sessions or different frequencies in general, different stuff than what I built into it, other people could have a much better experience. But for me, the goal was to enhance my focus and deepen my meditation, and what I built and the experience I had with PBM did not align with that goal. I also think it's important to remember that everybody's body is different to an extent. Just like some people thrive on binaural beats, I've had negative experiences with them. And that goes the same with PBM. There are big communities for both of these technologies, and they're all over the place online. So maybe I just did it wrong when assembling the device? Not quite sure. Brains are kind of unique to a certain degree, and what works for one person may not work for another person. So while my experiences were rather intense and ultimately uncomfortable, I know many other people have reported finding great value in photobiomodulation for mental health focus and their overall well-being. As for me, I've decided that photobiomodulation and a lot of this other techie stuff in this realm really just isn't the right path for me. I'm going to stick with a more organic approach to meditation without any external devices, at least for now. My hope was that photobiomodulation would help me reach deeper meditative states quicker, but after trying it, I realized it kind of did. It succeeded, but with those extra unpleasant side effects, like the lingering warping effects and stuff like that. I just didn't want to experience that again. And so I just can't tolerate that type of stuff for long-term practice. Regardless, thanks for listening to my story. I hope it was interesting. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.
Now remember that we are offering captions in multiple languages for many of our videos on FarsightPrime.com. We are also adding captions to older videos as quickly as we can. Please be patient as we seek to catch up. So English is not a limitation on FarsightPrime.com. It is only because of advances in AI technology that we are able to offer such captions in multiple languages. So we are grateful for that. Remember that we have a huge instructional and educational effort here at Farsight. We have people teaching our version of remote viewing, and we offer lots of instructional videos on FarsightPrime.com, plus printed materials and other resources on our newly modernized website, FARSIGHT.org. We are also listing our Farsight certified instructors who are teaching these classes, and the list will grow as more people obtain certification. The Farsight instructors are doing this on their own. Farsight does not get any financial benefit from their activities. So start by going to our website, FARSIGHT.org, and near the top of the navigation bar, on the left, you will see a link for remote viewing courses. Farsight is totally transparent, and Farsight is first class from top to bottom. So when you follow our stuff, you are engaging with the best. To keep up with what we do at Farsight, start by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and remember to click on the notifications bell that appears after you subscribe. That is the only way YouTube will notify you of the new events, especially our live stream events. Just subscribing doesn't do anything. The notifications bell is the important part. And that only notifies you of things that we release on YouTube. So to be notified about the things that we release on FarsightPrime.com, which you can watch using our Apple and Android apps on the web and on your home TV, you need to subscribe to our free email newsletter found on our website at farsight.org. You can also allow our apps to notify you of our new releases on FarsightPrime.com. Links for YouTube and our newsletter are in the description area below this video, and the app is, well, it's on your phone. Those are how we announce what we do, and we never send out spam, and we never give our subscriber list to anyone else for any purpose. Well, that is it for this week at Farsight. Each week we will bring you the latest. Stick with us in these changing times, and we will always stick with you. What you get from Farsight you can get absolutely nowhere else. Stay ahead of the curve. Let the mainstream fade in the dust. Be there now. I am Courtney Brown, Director of Farsight.